There's a wonderful Japanese saying that says, because I can hear the birds singing, I find the calmness of the mountains. Because I can hear the birds singing, I can find the calmness of the mountains. I read that actually this morning in my early morning meditations, and it got me thinking because it summarizes beautifully what I've been experimenting with kind of unknowingly and knowingly. I've mentioned it a few times, but it's really coming together as a big part of practice right now. And that's this idea of implication and paying attention not to the obvious, but to the implication of the obvious. Now, what do I mean by that? Yesterday, I was talking with my therapist, and yes, I go to a therapist for good mental health, and I recommend it for anybody who might even think or suspect that they might be benefited by it. Anyway, one of the things I was talking to her about is that in life, you can never hurt more than you love. And that's an important thing to remember, that when you're hurting a great deal, it's because there's a great deal of love being implicated somewhere. You know, if you lose your loved one, there's a great deal of pain. And usually we pay attention to the pain and we focus on the pain, and therefore we suffer. If we understood that that pain implied a great love and then focused on that love, the love that the pain implies, we would not suffer nearly as much. And the thought of that person would become a celebration to us instead of a cause of pain. In movement, stillness is implied. I mentioned that I'm working on that in my yoga practice, my hatha yoga practice. That, you know, moving my arms, it seems like an infinite amount of times like this while sitting on the floor, is exhausting and quite mentally challenging when I'm paying attention to the movement of my arms and identifying with the body that's moving and feeling like, oh, I'm hurting. Oh, that's exhausting. I find it very difficult. But I started doing the practice of finding that part of me that knows my arms are moving, because it is not. And that part is implied by the movement. And it helped me to find that center within that never moves, that is always still, that's watching and noticing all change, because it itself is unchanging. That's the dwelling place of the beloved for the devotee. You know, that is the finding of the self for the jnani, is to go inside and become established in that place that is implied by everything else, but it itself cannot be named, because it itself is unchanging and beyond attribute. That's the heady philosophical component of it. But in the everyday aspect of looking at the implication, when you feel lonely, it implies that you know good company or that you have had good company. And so you change the mind from the obvious to the implied, and you focus on the good company. So when you feel these negative things in life, whatever the cause might be, always look at what the implication is. It's pointing at something that's positive. It's pointing at something that's being reacted to. That is the opposite of what you're feeling and experiencing. So this practice of implication, let the song of the bird help you find the calmness of the mountain.